Minggu belanja manggis lagi.
Bentar, biar aku lanjutin, Bu. Malam ini sepertinya ngomongin Inggris lagi, ya kan, Bu?
Ya, betul Bu Uka.
Wah, seru nih Bu. Tamu dari mana lagi nih Bu Ibu?
Nah, fun fact tentang tamu kita ini adalah mbak-mbak cantik, I say beautiful ladies, mbak-mbak cantik mahasiswi bimbingan Pak Krisogonusida. Uniknya lagi, examiner dari degree project mereka adalah Sean, tamu podcast kita 2 minggu yang lalu. Atau seminggu yang lalu ya? Seminggu yang lalu kayaknya. Ini tuh kayak pepatah dunia selebar daun kelor nggak sih, Mas?
Ya, betul banget Bu. Tapi aku tuh suka mikir loh, kalau dunia memang benar selebar daun kelor, di manakah soulmate Bu Uke berada? Cuma selebar daun kelor kok ya belum ketemu ya Bu Uke?
Malah loh. Tapi ini saya juga jadi penasaran nih, kalau selebar daun kelor itu ya kok belum ketemu-ketemu gitu ya. Tapi ini sebaiknya kita back to the topic, brother and sister. Nah, kali ini kita mau ngobrolin tentang penelitian tamu kita yang fokusnya tentang how the attitudes to reading English children's literature affect book access and teacher library collaboration into Swedish primary school. Kurang keminggris apa coba saya?
Keren banget, menarik pokoknya. Jadi kita akan melihat bagaimana attitudes of reading affect book access and also teacher library collaboration. Baik, kalau gitu kita langsung sapa saja yuk. Hi Elin and Jennifer, nice meeting you. Hai.
Hi.
Nice meeting you. Hi Elin and Jennifer, it's nice to finally meet you. I am Yusefa, the one emailing you, and he is Thomas from Sanata Dharma University. Chris actually graduated from the same university with Thomas and I. And yes. I used to be Chris' undergraduate teacher.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. He was a naughty student back then. Yeah. And she's Uke from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta.
Hi again.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Elin and Jennifer, for joining us in our podcast today. Elin and Jennifer, can you introduce yourself first to Sobat Malem?
Yes, of course. So, first of all, my name is Elin Rushworth. And Jennifer?
Yeah, my name is Jennifer Oldby. And the two of us just actually did our exams. We finished our 4-year teacher education now last Friday. So we're getting ready for reality. And yes, we've been studying at Malem University. Thank you. I saw the applause. It feels good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's exciting. And we just we studied at Malem University, which is in the south of Sweden. Our program means that we will be primary teachers for the preschool class until grade 3 or year 3. So it means like ages 5 to 11.
Wow. Once again, congratulations, Elin and Jennifer. That's cool. Welcome to the real world.
We can add, actually, we forgot to add that we chose English as a specialization. We forgot to add that, yes. So, and one of the reasons, I think, why we did that for both Jennifer and I is because we both, well, of course, we have a love of the English language. And part of the reason is because we have English speaking backgrounds, both of us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing, especially related to your love to English, because all of us here, I believe, love English so much, right, Buka? Okay, okay, related to what you have done, maybe we would like to know more why you guys are interested in focusing your research or project on reading, especially L2 reading.
Yes, so I think it really comes from a love of children's literature. Like one of the main reasons why I chose to become a primary school teacher is because it gives me a good excuse to read children's books and buy children's books and picture books. I think it's some amazing children's literature available. So that's really the big reason, I think. And then also like my personal experience growing up as a young pupil, I didn't really see much children's literature in school in Sweden in English class. And also now, I think Jennifer will agree with me that now when we have been out teaching as teacher students at our internships, we haven't really seen that much of English children's literature out in the schools, and not so much literature-based instruction and all of this. So that's another big reason why we are interested in this.
And maybe Elin, you want to say that because while writing your previous paper, you also came across the book Floods and Extensive Reading, which made us much more interested in digging deeper into this. And also, I would like to just add that, as Elin said before, we have a background in English-speaking countries, and I grew up. A few of my childhood years was in the US. And for me, my childhood was filled of books like from Dr. Seuss or Laura Ingalls. And like Elin says, there's just such a huge amount of fantastic literature to really take advantage of and to share. And so this is, I think, for me, I'm very interested in authentic material, and not just school books, but the real thing, and trying to share this treasure. I think that's one of the main reasons for me.
That's a very interesting background and how you come to love this field. Maybe you can give the audience a brief background on English in Sweden. Could you tell us the role of English in Sweden and how students learn English since early age?
Yes. So shall I start? Basically, English is so important in Sweden, and it's important for higher education. So you need to have a passing grade in English as one of the 3 main core subjects at school to be able to go on to further education. And we start to learn English early in Sweden as well. So now it's compulsory from the age of from year 3. That's compulsory, but then teachers may wish to start earlier, and they can if they want to. So some teachers will start at grade 2 and some at grade 1 and some even in preschool class. So it depends. It's up to the teacher and the school. And also, of course, there's so much media and music and all of that. The American influence and the British influence. So English is very much present in Swedish society.
Yeah, I could just maybe add to that also something that is maybe a bit special about Sweden when we compare ourselves, at least with other European countries, is that when it comes to TV, everything that's in English stays in English. We just have subtitles. So that means that everyone is always exposed to a lot of spoken English. So this also really raises the level of, you can be so surprised to meet young kids that some of them haven't even started school, or they're very young in the first grades, and they feel quite secure, testing different jokes in English, or so it's almost our second language in a way. Yeah, Sweden is not such a big country, and we're the only country in the world that speaks Swedish, so we have a great respect for English to be able to reach out. So that is also why it plays a big role, I would say.
Okay. Very interesting background of English, though. Thank you for sharing. Now, you told us that your degree project is related to L2 reading, right? And I find your research question, because you shared your project with me, I find your research question is very interesting. How does access, attitudes of, and collaboration between English primary school teachers and school librarians in Sweden affect young EFL, ESL pupils' reading of English children's literature in schools, right? So could you tell us why you decide to research on the topic?
Yes, so as I mentioned previously, it kind of comes first from our personal experience being out at schools, wondering why teachers are not using more authentic literature, and why the libraries don't have more books, kind of thing, in English. So we wanted to investigate this further and to really, but maybe not investigate the access, but investigate how teachers and other professionals at school, like the librarians, how they perceive the access to English children's literature. So that's one of the main things. And when we started to think about those things, the role of the school library became more important and became interesting for us to look at as well. Because there's also recently there's a new law proposal in Sweden, which from the government, and it's made because the Swedish government wants to boost the importance of the Swedish school libraries, and make the schools use them more, and so on. So we looked into that, and we found that English is not really specifically mentioned in this. It's the only focus is on Swedish, but then the English language is so important for people in Sweden and to be able to enter higher education. So that was interesting. You know, why isn't English mentioned specifically in this? So we started to discuss about those kind of things. And Jennifer, is it something you want to add regarding this?
Yeah, no, but it's just it has been curious for us to try to see how come English is so important, and we have such a high level that, and also that our role as teachers means that we always have to be there and meet our pupils at the level where they are, and of course provide them progression and to really challenge them, which I think that's sort of hard sometimes to see, that not everything is in line with this, as we will see, we will show a little bit later, but that there can be reports by our school institutions, like writing that all languages should be present in the school library, and the school library should be used in all subjects. Also, literature should be used not just in the language subject, Swedish, but in all subjects like math, but then still there is nothing specific for English. So for us, it's been a little bit confusing, and like really we wanted to try to figure this out a little bit more.
And also to find out really what teachers out there think about reading in L2, and not, you know, later on at school, but the early L2 reading for primary school children. You know, what do they think about it? Do they think it's a good idea, or do they think it's a bad idea, or haven't they really thought about it? So yeah, it was just a lot of, I guess, curiosity from our part. We wanted to know what they think about reading in the early grades.
Nice. So I could say that your curiosity started this project, the whole project, and I can find, like you said, 3 words in this study, which are attitudes, access, and also collaboration. I believe that's so interesting, and our listener would like to hear more from you all. So could you guys share your project, your data collection, and also the findings with us and also the audience, of course? Can you?
Yes, of course.
We would love to share it. I'm trying to figure out how I will share my screen now.
Okay.
It will work fine, I hope.
Yeah.
So let's see how it works.
But yeah, but I can begin a little bit. Just as you said, you mentioned the three main themes for our project really is access, attitudes, and collaboration. So here we are. Perfect. So I'll talk more about our themes later. So we'll just go through a summary of our degree project now. So the title of the degree project is Early L2 Reading of Children's Literature, a Good Idea.
So let's see, so that I can there.
So yes, just the background and motivation. So why we wanted to do this, I think we mentioned most of it already. Yes, so we can pass this slide. Yes, so to our research question. Yes, so as I mentioned before, the project really focuses on the themes attitudes, so the teachers and the librarians' attitudes towards early L2 reading of English children's literature, and also the access, so how they perceive the access to children's literature at their school. And collaboration, it refers to how the teachers collaborate with the school library. And also the sort of fourth question, how do these three aspects affect each other? So here we kind of broke down our research questions into these parts.
Exactly. Okay. So when it came to the data collection, what we did was a very small qualitative study using in-depth interviews with 4 English teachers and 2 school librarians, which were at 2 schools in the same municipality in Malem. These 4 English teachers, also their focus is the younger ages, our ages, so we would say 5-6-year-old up to 11. We actually here, we included an English teacher for the 4th grade, just because that age is close enough to ours. We actually end in the 3rd grade, but the amount of English hours in the syllabus is so much larger for the students that go 4, 5, 6, those grades. So we wanted to include a teacher from there too. So what we did was we had semi-structured interviews based on an interview guide from these 4 themes, topics, access, attitudes, and collaboration. And because of the pandemic, it was a little bit like this. We actually did them digitally. So we used Zoom in Swedish. We chose that, it was much more natural. And then what we did afterwards was that we translated them to English. So that's a little bit how we did it. And so when it comes to the findings, we sort of bulk these up in our different topics. It makes it more easy to understand. So when it came to attitudes, we chose to analyze attitudes from the three elements, which is something coined, or this is like a concept within social psychology. So the 3 elements of attitudes refers to the cognitive part, the affective part, and the behavioral part. And this was a very helpful tool for us to be able to really break it down and to find support, real good theoretical support when analyzing. So when we looked at the cognitive attitudes, meaning what the teachers and the librarians, what they think or what they believe, what they express, was, we would say, generally very positive to when asked, would it be good? Oh, yes, literature, children's books. That would be fantastic. We definitely think so. Yes. But then when we the further we went with our questions and also asking exactly how they believed or what they sort of perceived about L2 reading or the concept of reading with young pupils, I think we really realized that they didn't share the same common ground with us. They didn't always think of this shared book or shared reading methods. But I think in many teachers' minds was still sort of reading as a individual solo act in a way. So when they referred to that, most of them were obviously quite hesitant, thinking that, no, well, our pupils they're too young actually to start reading English because they're struggling with Swedish, was a lot. So when we then analyze the affective part of attitudes, so what they would like to do, sort of more their dream vision, was also that the majority was very, very positive. I would say generally, they all were positive to include more than they did. They felt sort of inspired by our questions and feeling like, actually, I haven't thought about this in many years, or this makes me want to contact the librarian. And there was actually only one of the teachers that really is the one that works and by including a lot of literature. She was the only one feeling, actually, I'm very happy with what I do. I think I'm including it to a good extent. So there's no room for improvement here, but all the other ones really wanted. So that was interesting. And then the behavioral, so what they actually do was that when it came to including children's literature, it was quite rare that they did generally, and also that it was unsystematic. And by that we mean that it wasn't something that they really felt it was important to include, so that they sort of made sure to always come back to it over and over, but it was sort of like, it makes sense here, we could do that, or by accident, or there were different reasons behind why they would use it. So it was a bit unsystematic. This is what we found. And yeah, I think we wanted to share a little bit from the reflections of the teachers and the school library staff by using their quotes, so not putting our own words to it. So like one would say, if you think about it, first and second graders are actually struggling to learn to read in Swedish, which is what we found a lot, that's why they said wait with English. Or as soon as they can read a simple text, they should. So when they can read, also sort of referring to when they are able themselves, a little bit individual. Or I find that they're quite afraid of not understanding. So maybe teachers are sort of already anticipating fear of not instead of inviting, could be. Or that's how I really want the English subject to be, listening and reading for pleasure, which is of course a little bit more of our dream as well, and why we think literature is so wonderful to include. Yeah, Elin.
Yes. So when it comes to the access, or I have to say it's the perceived access. We didn't investigate ourselves the access by counting English books or anything like this. So it's the teachers and the librarians perceived access. And what they said basically is that it's an inadequate access of English children's literature, targeting the years 1 to 4, so the early years. And it was the same in both schools. And I think there is a quote here on the slide from the one of the staff working in the library. And it says, I don't think we have enough good children's literature targeting the very youngest pupils, which kind of sums it up. And what was also interesting was that one of the library staff, he thought that there was actually an inadequate access at the retailer itself. So and the school is sort of obliged to use a specific book retailer for their book purchases. And at this retailer, he didn't perceive the access to sort of good and easy reading material for this age group very good. Not a great selection at all. That was his opinion. And another interesting factor was that they said that they didn't experience the digital options as a problem, because digital solutions like digital ebooks, etc., they were available. It was the physical paper books that they were lacking. And it was interesting how a few of them reflected that they didn't think that in their experience, the young pupils didn't want to read digital books on their iPads. They wanted the physical books. And also one of the teachers expressed the same thing, that she doesn't want to use digital books. She wants physical paper books. So that was interesting. In this digital age, it's interesting to hear this. And another factor that was important, I think, regarding the access is that the staff working in the library and also the teachers, and we had some very experienced teachers as our participants, they didn't feel that they had enough knowledge about appropriate books to use in English. Yes, and the collaboration. Well, so the collaboration regarding English books and English in the early grades seemed to be virtually like non-existent, basically. And the librarian, one of the librarians, says that they do not borrow books, and no one has talked to me about requesting books for the very youngest. So there is not really any collaboration in English. There is collaboration, of course, in Swedish and with Swedish books, and the teachers expressed that this collaboration was good, but English has been sort of forgotten or pushed a little to the side. However, there seemed to be more collaboration in the higher grades 4 to 6. And as I said by reading this quote, the teachers, according to the librarians, they don't really request English children's literature for the early grades. And they are able to request books which the librarian can purchase, but they don't. So there's not really a big interest, one can say, about buying more English books to the library or to use in the classroom. And yeah, one of the main things also to mention here is that I mean the use of English and the when it comes to the library, the school library, it's not mandatory, and it's really up to each school if there is an interest in that particular school. Of course, there will probably be more, but it's very up to the individual school and the individual teachers. We found.
Yes.
And here we have a teacher's reflection on the use of the school library at her school. And I can read. So she says, "You come to the library, but it's almost as if we're waiting to let children borrow an English book until they are able, until they are there, until it almost becomes a book that, which to me feels like you have to be very, very good at English to dare approach. So we wanted to include this this quote because it really sort of highlights how the library is used, and also the sort of attitude to reading, that the reading is something that you do when you are able to read. So reading is delayed. Reading is not seen as something that you do together with the teacher before you can read. So with sort of shared reading or read alouds, that's so important for L1 reading and reading progression. But it's in English, this seems to have been a bit forgotten. So the children are allowed to borrow English books, but kind of they wait until they are already able to read. So I guess when they approach, year 6, year 5 and 6. So it was interesting to see.
Do you have another slide? No? Now?
Yes, we can take.
Oh, okay. Okay, so wow, such
There we
a
go.
great project,
okay?
Elin and Jennifer. Wow.
We're not done.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I saw that I was muted. I'm so sorry for my cold.
Yes.
I'm trying to, let's see here. If
We
I
have
can.
we have some more that we can talk about if we have time.
Yes,
we can
yes,
talk some more.
But what do you think? Is there short of time, or do you want to see the rest of the slide?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
I thought that you were done
No, it was
with
just
the
No, it was
okay, sure.
the sound. Yeah.
Sure,
sorry.
sure.
Okay, and then when it came to the fourth aspect, or the fourth sub-question, was sort of about all these 3 components together and how they affected each other. Sort of, I think what we were interested in trying to understand, to get our head around, was, is it the access that influences the attitudes, or is it the collaboration? Yes, so which comes first? So when it came to attitudes and access, we found that it's mainly these 2 that affect teaching and collaboration, and also the promotion of reading English children's literature in school. This is the abbreviation we put. And that there was a general lack of certainty if reading in the young ages was a good idea or not. So this is what I think we felt quite surprised to hear, that there was in a way a positive sort of, that of course, how can you not say that children's literature is good, fantastic idea? But then when we really broke it down, that it came to balancing, I think, a lot of different kinds of material that teachers felt that they have to use, and very much due to a quite limited, an English teacher for the 3 first grades has only 60 hours all in all dedicated to English. So there's 60 hours. So of course, and then if you have a lot of different requirements and literature is not on the list that a priority, then it's understandable that it feels a little bit difficult. But that depends on, of course, the approach and what we bring in with us into the classroom as teachers. So that also attitudes probably influence access and collaboration the most. So these attitudes are something that I think that we build and we create while our long life learning, but also a lot in our teacher education. What is it that we learn there? What kind of attitude do we have towards reading? Another problem was that no one seems to take an active role to promote early reading of English children's books. So the library staff is sort of waiting for the teachers to come and ask for it. And the teachers don't even think about asking the library because they haven't even thought that the library maybe has English books. So it's sort of a standstill. And it turned out that one library had a few books, but they were never lended to the young students. So it's a shame there. And then while we were analyzing our material, our results, we found something that we sort of coined like emerging themes. So other themes that we would like to investigate a little bit more. And we divided them into the obstacles to reading. So what was it that interfered or made it difficult? And this was, of course, that there was a lack of access, but also this a lack of knowledge that there were even English books in the library, or that the library could work together with the teachers. There was no real idea about this. Of course, finances, when it comes down to it, when the principal is to look over the budget, maybe buying in English children's books is not the priority. Obviously, that would be maybe lower down on the list, is what we've seen. Also, time is an issue because of the timetable for English, and something that's I think very special or specific for the Swedish school system is that our curriculum and syllabus is very much open for interpretation. So, for example, we don't have a list of which material that we have to use as teachers. It's more regarding like knowledge requirements or different abilities that our pupils have to practice to develop. But actually, and then we have core content, which is an inspiration, which shows like you can use poems or tales, but there's no specific list of how many children's books, for example. So this is very much open for interpretation. And what we found quite the most limiting, I think, of it all was this limited view of what reading entails. And even talking to teachers, working with young pupils, I think I was surprised to not feel that we were co-understanding the same idea of the joint reading together, the showing that the inviting pupils into the reading culture by modeling and showing and sharing, for the pupils to, of course, then feel more and more safe and more comfortable in looking into books themselves. So it was this idea of, no, first they speak, they talk, they listen, but then later on they can read English books. And so the possibilities, when we saw that the teachers that did include this more, so the more positive side to it was that many teachers said, being a class teacher, you're very flexible. So even if you only have these limited amounts of English hours, you have a possibility to include much more. So you can read a book in Swedish, and then another moment you can read the same book, but in an English version. And you're free to do this as a teacher. So if you would like to, you can include a lot. Also some teachers said that when they were at schools that had lacking textbooks in English, they just had to sort of make do with creating their own material. And in that case, they started looking into children's books and borrowing at the library and really working literature-based creatively. So this was when they didn't have the textbooks. And it's also positive that you can interpret the syllabus to use more if you would like, if your attitude is that way. Oh, and here we have those. So we can wait a little bit here. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Well,
Elin, Jennifer, you are wow. You are wow, ladies. and
thanks. There's a lot of things to talk about
Yeah.
regarding this.
It's such a great project, and I can see that like you're not only talking about your project, but you're talking your passion. Wow. I'm amazed. Okay, so Elin and Jennifer, do you find my internet connection okay?
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
All right. So I believe what you've done would add literature to L2 reading, especially to early L2 reading, right? So we are curious, what's the implication from your findings?
Exactly. So we can either show a slide on this, or we can just share. It's up to.
You could show the slides if you have it. I mean.
Yes, yes.
I think I can do it quite quickly here. There, share screen, getting used to this Zoom life here.
Zoom, yes, the new Zoom life.
There we go. Let's see. I hope it will. There we go. Can you see we have 2 slides for this discussion and
Yes.
So shall we start with the implications then to answer Joseva's question?
Oh, and that's me. Well, so the implications, Elin, maybe do you want to take this? I feel a little bit.
Yeah, sure, I can. Yeah, of course. Yes. So as Jennifer just mentioned, she was talking about the interpretive nature of the syllabus in Sweden, the English syllabus. So that was something we really started to discuss, and one implication is that because the syllabus doesn't mention children's literature so explicit, then of course this will be open for interpretation. And a negative effect, of course, of this is that teachers will interpret it differently, and some will use a lot of English children's literature, as one of the teachers did in our study, because she said that her interpretation of the syllabus was that you should include a lot of children's literature. And so she uses a lot, but then other teachers don't interpret the syllabus the same, so they use less. And this will, of course, be a problem with equity in the school system in Sweden. So it will result in students becoming less prepared for the English demands ahead, and some more prepared. So perhaps the syllabus should be revised. I mean, that's perhaps it should be the importance of shared reading and extensive reading and using children's literature could be made more explicit in the Swedish syllabus for English. Sorry, the English syllabus. And also we thought about the teacher's education, because we found that the attitudes affect both the access and the collaboration. Because if you have a positive attitude towards L2 reading, then you might, purchase more books, and you may want to collaborate more with the librarian. So if the teacher education would stress the importance of reading early with children, also in English, like they do with Swedish and the first language, then perhaps this could help to sort of change some more reluctant teachers' attitudes to become more positive and less hesitant towards extensive reading and shared reading in English and so on. And we also found that because the teachers don't really use the library for English in the early grades, you should see it as an untapped resource for English. So to be positive, there's a lot of potential here to do a lot when it comes to reading English.
I would just like to add there. Could I just add that, especially one of the librarians really also felt inspired by this and said that she would really like to do the same kind of things that she does with Swedish, like visiting classrooms and reading aloud and sharing book tips. She said she could imagine definitely doing that in English. So it is definitely an untapped resource that could be used so much more.
And then, of course, with the last point, what we also said before about, in this digital age, we're, talking on Zoom right now. So even if we do live in a digital age and young children are used to using laptops and iPhones and everything, still there seems to be a need for physical paper books. So schools shouldn't just replace all the books, you know, throw all the old paper books out and replace them with digital options. I think that is something that's important to look on and yeah, be aware of.
Well, it's such a great work, and the part that, wait, I note it down, that the school library as an untapped resource, I couldn't agree more than that, because well, actually we have a lot of resources that there, but many of us just haven't realized that yet. So I think your work is very important. I think not only in your context, but that will be in Indonesia too. So I think if a teacher and librarian can work together, then they will build wider access for the students to learn English since early age. And before we end our discussion, do you have any advice for EFL teachers who are interested in reading with young language learners?
Yes, yeah, we were discussing this, and really, we would just like to stress the importance to have shared reading first, and to really see the benefits of gathering the children, gathering your pupils, really inviting them into the culture of reading by being an example, by showing the great treasures of literature, and show them how a book is read with feeling, with you know, emotions, and really they need to be included in this. So shared reading first, then later independent reading. There is a natural progression here, and also if you have the possibility of trying to immerse your pupils or students in a great amount of books, like book floods, is also fantastic for pupils, for readers themselves, to feel that they can look and that they can choose what book is, you know, really inspiring them at the moment. So to really try to look at that would be a good way to go. Access to books, to try to, I think, Elin, what about this, the funding and motivated by research?
Well, I mean, yes. So of course, the funding can be different at different schools, of course, and that can be an obstacle for teachers. But I think an advice would be that I think teachers should feel safe, that they have a lot of research and theory behind them. So if they go to the principal and ask for more money, you know, to go to English children's literature for the youngest students, they can be confident that there is a lot of research that says that this is a very good way of teaching, and a way to develop students' language. So yeah, to be confident that it works.
And maybe to look into books like such as graded readers and picture books, and also cartoons. It actually, I think I talked to a librarian that it's not really so important what it is. It's just as long as it's something that really attracts the children to read, that's what you have to go on. So I think, you know, also asking and trying to follow up their own interests, hobbies, what they ask for, will definitely motivate children to read. So to really listen to them as well.
Wow. Once again, Elin and Jennifer, what you have done is amazing. And I could say that we all are inspired by what you have done. And I do hope that our audience from satERdate will get inspired as well. And we do hope again that we can keep in touch later. Maybe it is not the first time for you all, but maybe we will have the second time, or maybe the third or fourth, like that. And once again, thank you so much for what you have shared.
Thank you for
Elin,
having
also
us
Jennifer,
here, and for listening to our presentation.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be able to share this knowledge that we've sort of have digged out. It's really fun that people around the world are interested in what we have done at our university. So thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, maybe to end this meeting, kind of meeting, I don't know, but Elin and Jennifer, could you say one sentence in Swedish for all audience in Indonesia?
Yes, what about läs mer?
Anything?
Läs mer. Which means read,
What is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
read more.
Läs
Läs
mer, läs nu. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. That's already in Swedish, so I would end this with in bahasa Indonesia. So, for Sobat Malmi, terima kasih banyak sudah ikut ngobrol bareng kita dan dukungan-dukungan positifnya untuk satERdate with. Stay healthy and happy. Bye-bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.